Hi guys, so today I'm going to talk about the case of Meika Jordan. She was a 6-year-old beautiful little girl that was abused and tortured by a stepmom and dad. It is one of the most evil type of child abuse cases. As all child abuse cases, it's just all cases in general are very hard to talk about, but child cases can be like, more worse or triggering for some people. I think it's that the children are just so vulnerable and so little, and especially when they're really little, they just little children just want to be loved and just want to play with the toys and have ice cream and have fun, and be loved, like I said. So I'm going to talk about the case of Meika, and as I've mentioned, it's obviously, as we know, so trigger warning, because it's going to be very, distressing, and some obviously all themes of child abuse in here are what this poor little girl went through. And yeah, it's so trigger warning. I'm sure anyone that's watched true crime cases, especially child ones, you'll understand this anyway, but nevertheless, it's important to put trigger warning in front either way. So now I started filming another case on my actual camera, proper camera. I haven't looked at it since, and I needed to do end bit, and I wasn't very good at it because it was hard for me to read off the information, even though I'd write it down, because I can struggle with stuff like that. But I do think I'll get better as I go. So hopefully I do, because I really want to do these type of videos. So hopefully I'm okay. I get better. I mean, and everything's okay. And you can understand what I'm saying and doing. I have got notes here. And I can edit some out as well. So edit some stuff if needed. But I do want it to be as real as possible, because this is real case we're talking about. A real child we're talking about. So I've been rambling for 3 minutes now, so I'm just going to get into the case now. One last warning, very big trigger warning for anything to do with child abuse in any way, and grief of other people who care about the children and other parties and stuff. But yeah, so I'm gonna go through it, and I feel like I can actually read it better like this way, so hopefully. So yeah, like I said, I'm gonna get into it. Sorry guys. So on 11th of December 2004, Meika was born to Kyla and Spencer. There isn't much said other than the relationship wasn't the best at the time, but they carried on until, but in 2006, they had another child, a little boy. Sorry, I got mixed up then what I was saying. But yeah, they had another child, a beautiful little boy. So obviously Meika had a brother. So despite the relationship not being very good, they didn't go on to have another child after Meika, which, like I said, was a boy. after the birth of the second child, the relationship actually got worse. And in 2009, they divorced. So it was then that the legal battle began for the children. Each parent wanted the children to live with them, as with a lot of cases. So, but they ended up getting joint custody. In the end, a judge ruled for them both to have, joint custody. Both parties had no disagreement with the agreement of the court order at the time, from what we know. So, and both parents lived in the same city at this time, so of course they were near each other. Like to, have for Meika and a brother. So after 2 years passed, Kyla married another man called Brian, and he seemed like a really nice guy and, loving, caring, attentive to Kyla and her children. They both were amazing. They both were amazing parents, and they raised 3 children around the same age. So and Spencer started living with a new girlfriend as well at this time, called Marie. The children continued seeing both parents, as I've said, despite not having a permanent home. Meika remained a carefree and happy child, from what we know. Brian and Kyla was amazing parents, and like I said, they raised 3 children around the same age. In 2011, the Woodhouse family was expecting the 4th child, and the children was a little spoiled, and unlike Spencer and Marie, Kyla and Brian found a common language with the children. When Meika stayed with her father, she acted up, just like children do, like so things like made faces we're talking about, like pulling the tongue out kind of thing. And apparently disobeyed. I don't know what that means, whether it were to an extent that she were being naughty or whatever you want to call it, or obviously definitely not for what happened to her. But I mean, I don't know if that was into her being misbehaving way, naughty misbehaving way, or just other silly things, or how she was disobeying him, along with they're making faces, you know what I mean. So this made Marie actually agitated. She didn't have children of her own, and she didn't have a clue how to raise children. So yeah, it made her agitated. I don't know why, because even if you haven't got children, it's just some things are just common sense. Children are children, that's life. Get over it. But obviously it made her angry and agitated and bitter, if you want to call it. Sorry, I was just trying to look where I were, because I couldn't find really much information around this before the abuse. Maybe I just don't look very hard. Hopefully I get better at that, if not. But I have got quite a bit on the, like, from when she was abused as well. So, and then obviously, of course, I've got about Meika. So let's talk about Meika a minute, because I like to do this like a lot of true crimers do, because it's you know, we're human being, we're child that, you know, lived and passed because of evil and calculated behaviours of adults around her. So, and Meika was really, really loved by a mom and a stepdad, and it was like a fairy tale life with them. But then when she was with a dad and stepmom, it was like a nightmare from hell. Like, that child went through hell. But it's important, I think, to understand that she was a person, she was a little girl, and she did have a personality, and she did have good things about her, and she was going to be something amazing, because, well, yeah, I don't know what to say on that. So it's known that Meika was never sad. She always found something to be happy about. If it were raining or if it was sunny, she didn't mind. She always found something to smile about, something to look forward about with that. She was known as a little princess, and she loved to sing and dance. She was just the most happiest, loving, sweet little girl. She was always sweet and kind, and like I said, she was always happy. Nothing put her in a bad mood. She was just always smiling and laughing and having fun, like a little girl should be. But she was just like a really special little girl, and she was so precious. And if you see her on pictures, you see how absolutely gorgeous she is on the outside. But from, obviously, we know what her mum and stepdad and others that loved her around her, we know that she was very beautiful on the inside as well as the outside. She also loved skateboarding, and she loved princesses and having tea parties. Sorry if that's annoying you, I don't know what I can do right now. It's because that bit's gone further back, and it still not very good, but that's annoying. But yeah, so she loved it, you know, like I said, she loved skateboarding. If it were raining, like I said, she'd still be happy. She'd find something to do. She'd go out, dance in the rain, something like that. And like I said, she loved singing and dancing, and she loved princesses and just having tea parties. And she'd dress her siblings up for tea parties as well with her. So she did love dressing up as well, especially with siblings. And she was such a good big sister, and she adored her siblings, and she adored her mum and stepdad, which it's, I don't know what like say. I want to say it's a bit comforting that she had like the fairy tale life on that side, but I don't know. Maybe it's not. That's awesome. I thought it was someone. So yeah, she had the fairy tale life, obviously, with a mum and stepdad, but it don't change that what that poor child went through. And obviously, so that's what I mean. I don't know if it's called, word to be like comforting that she did, but then she'd have still been. That's when she'd have still been upset and scared from that moment, even in and stepdad's care at that point. But so yeah, so so it was really, really, you know, it's really horrible to think that, sorry guys, that these innocent babies are going through this kind of stuff all the time. So then now we get on to the, you know, devastating part. Meika started soon started getting abused, as we know, by a stepmom and dad. It seemed, I don't know if it was stepmom that actually started it, but it don't matter either way. They're both as vile as each other. Let me just put that out there. But I don't know if it was her that started it or they were like a joint sick kind of twisted decision for both to do it, to start it at the same time. But her mum and stepdad start seeing changes from when she'd been at her dad and stepmum's house, Spencer and Marie's house. So I think it was one of the first injuries. Kyla had found a burn on Meika, but like a lot of abusers, they'll when she contact them, they just make excuses and act as if nothing's happened and things. And from there, they were seeing bruises and stuff. Kyla and Brian, they were seeing bruises and marks and burns and stuff. And it was a constant like pattern. It did so on Google what was first injury quickly, but it done but I'm pretty sure it was a burn, at least what they noticed. But if I'm wrong, I apologise. I'll double check in future on cases before our video to make if I can get the information or whatever. But Meika was, all her hair were tangled by end. She was constantly beaten, thrown down the stairs, dragged around by her hair, burnt. It kicked, punched, everything you can think of. It's just the most horrendous abuse and torture on a beautiful, innocent 6-year-old little girl that couldn't fight back. So on the day that Meika passed, well, that she was, that Marie, stepmom, phoned the emergency services. She got on phone and she basically said that her stepdaughter had fell down the stairs. She's unconscious and not breathing. And at approximately 18 minutes past 7 p.m, emergency services got there to their home where Meika were. And when paramedics and CPS got there, Meika was in full cardiac arrest, if I'm saying that, I don't know, and was rushed to nearest hospital. I think they even noticed when I got the other Cleveland when an accident, or that she just fell down the stairs. But yeah, So when Meika finally got to hospital, after months of abuse and torture, she sorry, I've lost where away. So doctors was shocked. There's never seen injuries in a children Meika's age like the one she'd got. And the thing is, obviously some of these doctors have been doctors for years and years, and they hadn't seen anything like it in that time as such. As bad as Meika's injuries for a little girl her age. I mean, she shouldn't have any kind of injuries that put her in hospital deliberately at the very least. So when she got the Meika had tangled hair in places and torn, a split lip, a huge bruise on her abdomen, which caused a ruptured spleen and partial damage in her intestines. And just reading that makes me feel like vomiting physically. It's... how can you do that to another human being? Especially a beautiful little girl like. And of course, a scan showed at least 3... I don't know if I put wrong word there. To that causing a concussion. Doctors also noticed a strange third-degree burn on Meika's left palm. The doctors knew it wasn't an accident and phoned police while Meika was kept in on life support. They basically had to put straight away on life support, guys. Like take that in. They had to put 6-year-old little girl on life support from injuries, multiple injuries, not just one, that clearly wasn't an accident. It'd be heartbreaking if she had one severe injury that had to put straight on life support and it was an accident. But to know, I don't know the doctors, I know they've got to, when even the police and stuff, obviously, stay so calm in these situations. Obviously, they've got to, I'm guessing they have training to actually stay calm, as well as training for other stuff around. Investigating crimes and stuff, and questioning, and just everything that you need to know that they have to do, people. Bitch were kept on life support in the meantime, but unfortunately Meika succumbed to her injuries. Doctors did everything possible to keep Meika alive, but after the little girl struggled with of tubes, and doctors, 16 hours later Meika actually passed away. So just a few hours later she'd passed away. And then it was found out that the injuries were done at least 4 days before the death. That a fall couldn't have caused them type of injuries, basically. So it was quite clearly it was deliberate. I mean, I'm sure everyone knew that in the first place. And of course, me could have been getting abused for a long time at this time as well. So when interviewed, Spencer and Marie was negative when shown photos of injuries of Meika. they insisted she fell down the stairs still, but obviously that wasn't believed. So I don't know why they carry on with that story when quite clearly everyone knew around them that it wasn't true. It's really, really sickening, and I mean, there's no words, but like, it's completely, utterly evil and sickening. Like, I don't understand some people, how the brain works. I really don't. And the only person in the home when Meika was armed was a little brother. So a little brother had to witness stuff like this. What Meika were going through, should I say. I mean, attempts was made to question him a little bit, Meika's little brother 3 times, but was afraid to talk about Marie and Spencer, which to me proves that he'd seen them be violent and angry and aggressive, and he could have even him at one point or other at this time, but at the very least he's definitely seen him being aggressive and angry towards his sister Meika. So for the moment, police decided not to bring the little boy into investigation for the moment because of his age, and obviously he was scared to talk anyway. So 6 days after Meika's death, closest people got together at the cemetery. What do you call it? Ceremony. I can't say it. You know what I'm on about. I'll see if I can put it up on screen. Word. I'm sorry if I get any words wrong. I'm not very good at that. So they played Meika's favourite song, and pink balloons circled around and above a coffin, and there were princess balloon as well above, as well as the pink ones. Meika's stepfather actually spoke about with all the love we clearly had for her, and care, and just how much he loved and cared about Meika showed 100%. Because on the meanwhile, Meika's own father just, looked and acted perfectly fine and normal, and it was like a day out for him. Not so if it sounds sarcastic in such case, but it was like a day out for a biological dad. It was like a day out for him, not like your daughter's memorial. So even professionals that had seen a lot in their time of working in such areas was visibly more upset than Meika's own biological father. And investigators knew Spencer and Marie for definite was responsible at this time for Meika's death. So they left them for a year because they didn't have really any, I don't think they really had any evidence to go off that's strong enough at that time. And of course you can only generally try one trial at once. I've heard something like that in it. Like one court for I don't know if it's with every crown that, or just the more severe crowns, I'm not sure. But yeah, nevertheless, sorry. So the investigators' plan was to leave him for a year and pretend like they'd forgotten all about them and everything about it. Whilst they forgot about Meika and going on with the life as normal after abusing the youngster to death. So in this time, in that year, after Meika died, after they killed her, Marie and Spencer was literally going to fucking Paris, concerts and everything else that's fun to them, and pubs and whatever else. They met new people and they were having time of their life basically, so they definitely was not bothered about them abusing and torturing a 6-year-old, let alone their own flesh and blood. Well, the dad's flesh and blood, and she's supposed to act like flesh and blood. I can't with some cases just really. So although the investigators knew that that they'd armed Meika, that Spencer and Maria had armed Meika, sorry. And it was not an accident. They found it strange they talked negatively of Meika, and they never looked sad on the day of the tragedy and funeral, and of course all the time they were partying, they most certainly didn't look sad or bothered or worried or anything. So a neighbour told police they had seen Meika alone at home for days. I mean, that's crime in itself, why you're leaving a 6-year-old at home on their own. And he wondered why she wasn't going to school and stuff like that. He also said that Meika looks exhausted and her face was covered in bruises and scratches. And Meika's eyes was full of fear. And as we know, eyes tell the real story. This man asked Marie what had happened to the little girl, and Marie said Meika had fell. As we know, that's not the truth. Yeah, so like I said, we know that's not the truth. I don't know if this man reported it to anyone, police, social services, CPS, whatever. Sorry, guys. But he should have if he didn't. And this does annoy me when people say, well, I've heard this, I've seen this, when it's quite clear a child being abused. Even if you're an adult, I'm sorry, but you have the responsibility, whether you like it or not, to phone the police or the CPS, and there's no excuses. You can go anonymous. There's no excuses at all. I do understand some people being a bit scared, but imagine how that person feels. And like I said, you can go anonymous, and people can't prove you've done it, even if they're guessing. Oh, you've done this, you've done this. You just say no, I have not. If you're that scared, do you know what I mean? It's like a vicious circle with that kind of thing. like I said, I do understand people are a bit scared, but it's so frustrating when you can just phone, it's anonymous, and you're more scared about for you than someone being beaten to a pulp, especially when it's a little child that can't defend themselves. Even if it's an animal, if you know a dog or cat's been abused, and then I'm sorry, but it's your job to. Well, I'm not even sorry. It's your job to phone for help. And obviously, if you know and you don't know that, or there's a good chance that that's happening, not just if you think you want to phone for no reason or whatever to someone. So, and then after this, later on, there was a discovery made on the original phone call, and police looked back and listened. A woman's voice, probably Marie's, discusses a burn to Meika on a call. Marie asks for advice, claiming her daughter has a burn not too bad on her hand, but it did blister, and she asked if she should pop it. Now, I don't know much about burns. Obviously, they're different degrees of severity, but the dispatcher asked if Meika felt pain on the burn, and Marie said no. And the lady on the phone was shocked because she obviously knows about burns because she trained for that, and she proceeds to tell Marie she is concerned. She has to tell Marie she's concerned. They were not concerned. Because a burn that turns white is usually 3rd-degree burn. Marie then, scared for herself, says, "Oh, really? I've actually heard this call as well." And she's so like matter of fact, and it's like, "Oh, really?" But just scared for herself, kind of thing. A day after that call, the children was supposed to go to their mothers and stepfathers, but Spencer asked if they could stay a few more days. A few weeks before Meika's death, Carla and Ryan had already reported to Children's Services that Meika had returned home from her father's with numerous scratches and bruises. So, again, Children's Services, they don't do anything. They just, apart from things they don't need to do out about. But they'll leave kids to babies, that's fine with them. And they need to start and get charged for their part in stuff. And obviously any officials, professionals as well. So it went the original called this one, sorry, it was the one before that they'd found, but they'd found it. They didn't know about it before, but they found it that Marie had phoned and talked about a burn to a lady on phone. So then finally, after a year after Meika's death, police arrested both Spencer and Marie on suspicion of the murder of Meika. Both denied all. Obviously they will. They denied all accusations, as said so in interviews, but then the suspects was allowed to have a break in another room where they begin to come up with a story together about Meika's injuries. Now, I think sometimes they deliberately leave him in room, but sometimes they do generally need to go and just talk to someone or do something. So I don't know if this were one of them where they deliberately left them to see if they start chatting. And obviously it's on, camera. So I don't know why this. I'm not laughing because it's funny, guys. I'm just like, laughing at their stupidity, because I don't know how people do that when they know. I mean, it's good they do, because it shows that they're wrong. So they begin to come up with stories, like I said, about Meika's injuries. So in Canada, and this was something that I learned new about this from this case. I didn't know about this, but in Canada, often police pretend the neighbours' friends to gain trust from suspects. The process can take anywhere from 6 months to a year. Police met up with Spencer and Marie, played it cool, told them they could join a gang to earn money. But first they'd have to tell them what happened to Meika. They told them Meika had got the burn because she disobeyed. Marie put Meika's hands between her legs tightly so she couldn't break free, and for a minute burnt Meika's palm with a lighter. Can you imagine 60 seconds burning? Even for 2-3 seconds it's burning you. It's horrible pain. More than horrible. But she literally put the light to a 6-year-old child for 60 seconds to burn her hand deliberately as well. Well, obviously it'd be deliberate, something like that, but you know what I mean. You just can't imagine people are like this living among us, but so then Marie, we got scared when Kyla were going to come the next day, so she would see Meika's womb, of course, and if you're a normal human mom, majority of the time you see something wrong with your child straight away, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever, especially when they're that little, because you just, you know. So obviously she would see it, and that's why Emily knew this. So scared. So they obviously premeditated everything as well, if you've noticed, after like the death and maybe even before. So because she was scared that when Kyla come the next day and she would see the womb, she asked Spencer to persuade Kyla to let them keep the kids for longer. Kyla and Brian was told the reason was because Spencer wanted to spend more time with the kids, some more quality time with them. But really, the evil couple, wanted to wait for Meika's burn to heal a little bit so that mum couldn't see it get suspicious or anything with this. It's so it's just making me so angry, like raging. They also admitted they bullied Meika often, because she disobeyed. She was disobedient. She disobeyed them. See. So Spencer ended up pushing Meika at some point that so hard that she fell meters and hit cabinets and walls. Marie grabbed Meika by the arm and shook her with all her anger she had with the little girl. She was angry and jealous and bitter of a little 6-year-old little girl, a beautiful little girl that had done nothing wrong but exist. So then Meika fell down the stairs, and Meika was beaten, dragged by the hair, and had her hands tied. And I'm guessing this happened multiple times. The same thing repeated over months. when Meika had the strength, when Meika had no strength left and asked for food, the evil twister, Spencer and Marie, forced Meika to climb the stairs, and when she couldn't do it, due to being so weak, they viciously assaulted. She was viciously assaulted by 2 grown adults, and she was dragged up by the hair when she couldn't make it up the stairs. Meika was always dirty as well when she was in their care. She wasn't allowed to sleep or go to the toilet. Can you imagine how much pain and fear this little girl was in and felt like? I don't know how people can do this. I really do not know how people can do this. I don't. So they ended up admitted to private investigators who they thought was their friends. Idiots. They'd been abusing Meika for a long time. So after all, this was admitted by the 2 evil people. You'd think it would be enough to put the 2 biggest devils in Canada behind bars, but such confessions can't be used as evidence in Canada in case they're making the story up to gain the trust of their new criminal friends, So in 2014, first-degree murder charges were laid on against both Mark and Spencer, laid out against Mark. Meika's mother couldn't stand to listen what they'd done to her beautiful little girl. The stepdad couldn't really either. Kyla held on with everything she had, but she soon left the courtroom and she collapsed. She collapsed because of the pain that she felt of feeding everything a little girl had been through. I mean, as if it weren't bad enough that they took her life. Canada courts refused to take in confessions during undercover police operations, but the prosecutor did manage to prove the injuries all over her body was consistent abuse and beatings was the result of abuse by her father and stepmother. Meanwhile, Mark and Spencer's trial continued, and Kyla and Brian attended every session, wearing matching black jackets with support behind them. In June 2015, Spencer and Marie was finally found guilty. Second-degree murder, was sentenced to a minimum of 17 years in prison each without parole. But I hope they're getting longer. I don't know how long it's been now. So obviously it wasn't long enough sentence or justice to Meika's name, and the parents knew it more than any of us. That was their baby's life that had been taken. She was 6 years old and viciously assaulted and tortured. So after no appeals, finally, the courts made a rare decision to change second degree to first degree murder for both Spencer and Marie. I don't know how I'm really sorry guys, I got really upset with that case. As you can see, my voice is sick. But I can't understand how anyone can do that to a beautiful, innocent little human. Like, how? Why? What did she ever do wrong to you? Nothing. So that's the end of the video. But I do just want to say, even though they're probably never going to see, to Kyla and Brian, that you was the most amazing parents and loving parents, and Meika was lucky to have you, and I'm sure you felt as lucky to have her, and I'm sorry that she was such a short time, and prayers, love, thoughts and strength to you always, and I hope, well, I don't hope, I know she's going to be waiting for you, especially for you, and to Meika, I hope you rest in peace, little angel, forever and always, until you, mummy and stepdaddy, who's really your real daddy, and your brothers and sister get to meet you again, and forever at least you'll know that you are loved and cared for more than anything, and you touched the lives of so many, and even now after death you're changing lives, and we are so thankful for that. So thank you, Meika, such a precious, beautiful, innocent little angel. Night night for now. Bye guys.
Didn't know today would be your last, or that I'd have to say goodbye to you so fast. I'm so numb I can't feel anymore. I'm praying you just walk back through that door and tell me that I was only dreaming. You're not really gone as long as I believe. There will be another angel around the throne tonight. Your love lives on inside of me, and I will hold on tight. It's not my place to question, only God knows why. I'm just jealous of the angels around the throne tonight. Always made my troubles feel so small, and you were always there to catch me when I'd fall. In a world where heroes come and go, where God just took the only one I know. So I'll hold you as close as I can, longing for the day when I see your face again.